Hi, Susan. Cheers. It's Thursday, so you know that means it's Thirsty Thursday, where we talk about, those hits and misses that we saw throughout the week. This is probably one of our favorite times of the week. We get to come here and just kind of,
Yeah.
cheers each other and gossip a little. So why don't you start off? What were you thirsty for this week?
Well, see, way up there on the list has got to be the British royal story. I'm slightly ashamed that I'm that obsessed with what the royals are up to. But on this occasion, I think the whole world was sort of waiting for the Harry and Meghan interview with Oprah. And I know you've watched all of it, Will, and you'll have to give us more details. But the broad sort of top line of it was, I think to me, what felt yucky and like poorly handled was the palace's statement. So after Meghan had said, like she did some deep sharing where she talked about how this affected her and her mental health, and even spoke about feeling suicidal for a significant amount of time. And the palace's response to it was like, recollections may vary, or something along the lines of like the of all apologies, which is like, I'm sorry you felt that way, but I'm taking no responsibility, right? So I think that stood out. I think it was particularly interesting that so many people spoke up about it. And even in the public domain, like there were like people who were saying, every time you're saying mean things about Meghan and her mental health, Meghan's not going to read it, but your friends who felt suicidal on your list are going to read it and feel about themselves. And I think there's long and far-reaching sort of waves that come out of this kind of thing. So what did you think, Will?
Well, no, I agree with you regarding the Queen's statement via the palace. Whether or not I think it said something about like, we weren't aware of this. Like, well, that's hard to believe, first of all. I think the statement would have been okay if it hadn't been we hear you and we're taking this seriously, but, right? We always say like the first thing about crisis communications, if you're in the wrong, is either, it's the holding statement is, we're sorry, we're looking into it. We love our family. It could have been as simple as that, and people still would have criticized it, right? Because it was like, how would you not have known this was going on? Because that's what the statement said as well. But I get really irritated when it's that, I'm sorry, but
yeah.
I'm sorry you feel that way, but, that kind of apology always annoys me. So on that alone, I was annoyed. And also, I think we, like most of people in North America, I know that Britain's a bit more divided because of that. How dare you talk about the royal family that way? But yeah, no, I'm glad. I think this was needed. Like, let's either, reform this monarchy. Like, I think they need to do a clean house of everyone who's in that bureaucracy within the palace, because they're probably old white men and women who do things a certain way and have done things a certain way forever. And I think that needs to change. So yeah,
I agree. And then, to seg into our next British royal story. Yeah. That's a Jimmy Fallon joke right there. But yeah, we're going from the Queen to the King, which is Burger King UK. Also got it wrong this week. And it's inevitable, I guess, because they have been working on a number of like edgy, funny, like jumping on the news kind of thing. And every so often you're going to get it slightly wrong. And so they had a tweet on Women's Day, which said women belong in the kitchen. It was just the one tweet. There was a thread that explained their statement. Essentially what it was I think it was a charitable effort in which they were going to fund like chefs, like women chefs, because there aren't enough professional women chefs. And so that was the plan. But everything about that clickbaity headline like came back to bite them in the ass. They did run an ad with the copy, but in general, I think people were really opposed to it. They said it was poor taste, poor timing, everything that women were fighting to change. And I think the interesting thing was that I don't know if they did a public apology. I know they took down the tweet and like fixed that. But I know that Fernando Machado, who is the global CMO of Burger King, took some time to go and respond to many things and apologize. A good apology. No, I'm sorry, but there was a little bit of explanation saying we try a few things and we get some wrong. But I thought it was well handled. And net, don't do it. Don't do it. Like, follow what Twitter said. It's like, some tweets are best in the draft.
Mhm.
They tweeted immediately after this.
Yeah. No, I thought something that might have changed the reaction they got, I think I mentioned this to you, was if that headline, "Women Belong in the Kitchen," had been accompanied with a photo of a power woman chef in a, in a serious 5-star kitchen type thing, right? Then people might have made the connection. Oh, they're trying to be funny and look at, but I think without something like that visual cue, I think that's obviously what set people off. Plus, I mean, it's a triggering phrase anyways, let's be honest. And Burger King, we've talked about them a lot on here. We've been really delighted by the kind of newsjacking and the humor they've used over the past year. We've talked about it so much. And it just goes to show not everything's going to land. And then when it doesn't, and you do upset people like that, take it down, apologize with no buts, right? So
yeah. Agreed.
And then we wanted to talk about, so that was kind of something that happened on International Women's Day. We just spoke about something else that was announced on International Women's Day that I thought was cool, was the Toronto Raptors said, I think it's March 24th or March 23rd, they're doing an all-female led broadcast of a Raptors game. I think it's Raptors in Denver. Look at me pretending I know anything about this. But no, I thought that was really neat. And they're kind of like, people might say, oh, this is a stunt thing, but I look at it as like, by doing this, you're normalizing women in these roles. It's what we talk about, that intentional side of pushing the needle forward. So I thought that was pretty cool. So I might actually tune in for a Raptors game, Susan, just to see.
Right.
Yeah.
Like be my second other than the other Raptors game.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's cool. And then lastly, I did want to, here in Canada, Huffington Post, we have an arm, or we did have an arm, HuffPost Canada. Buzzfeed owns HuffPost Canada. They just laid off and shut down all of it. We just, Bell just laid off and shut down a bunch of newsrooms. Now Huffington Post Canada's shutting down shut down the whole site. But it's the way they did it, Susan. So I'm going to tell you what happened. In the morning, a day or two ago, the Buzzfeed CEO tells everyone, come on to the Zoom call. The password to get in is "spring has sprung." I would assume this is going to be an optimistic call. It wasn't. It wasn't. It was like, we're laying off 47 people. This is before they actually shut the whole thing down. We're laying off 47 people. And you'll know if you're one of those 47 people by 1 p.m. if you get an email in your inbox. And I was like, some people were referring to this as like a reality show type style layoffs.
Gosh, like, that's terrible.
I can't imagine the way. And so, of course, again, as we said with Bell, you're laying off people who use social media, who are eloquent and know how to call you out and report. So, of course, all over there's tweets all about how awful this has been handled. And I don't understand how companies don't get, we're still in the middle of a pandemic. People's mental health is not great. It's just the way these things are being handled, like, baffles my mind.
I wonder who's just planning this in the back end. I mean, it's easy enough to be on the outside and say that this, here's how I would have done it. But really, honestly, it confuses me, and even just I'd posted about this and because it's Canada, I got a lot less people trolling me, but I had a bunch of people who said things like, vote, like, what was it, woke equals broke.
I saw that. I did see that. That was from a banker who wrote that. I saw that. No, because I noticed that. I texted you. I'm like, Susan, you're in the LinkedIn news roundup again. And you were like, oh God, who's going to troll me now? So.
Yeah, it's funny. So those were the sort of stories that caught our eye this week. And to round this up really quickly, we like to talk about our podcast of the week. This week's episode is a particularly cool one. We interviewed Tiffany Dufu, who is the author of Drop the Ball and, Power Businesswoman Extraordinaire. And she had some amazing things to say about managing overwhelm and, building your network as a way to sort of like expand your goals in life. So listen to that. The link is in the comments, and have a wonderful week.
I really enjoyed that episode a lot. So I hope everyone does go and listen to it. Susan, I'll see you next Thursday.